Hello, future developers, and welcome to the continuation of our HTML project. So today we'll be working on the CSS. Okay, so we are going to style our page just as you see here. We're going to add in some background images and then style our button and then text. So that said, let's go to our main.css file. Okay, you can click here to access it. Okay, so main.css. So in our main.css, what I would want to do first is to clear all the inherent or the default margins and padding that comes with the HTML document. So to do that, just so it doesn't affect any other um, like values that we give or properties we give to our HTML document, like padding and the margin. So you want to remove all forms of padding and margin from our HTML document because by default the our HTML documents, okay, or yeah, elements or documents comes with their own padding and then like margin. Okay, so let's use the universal selector. Then we use the universal selector and then curly braces. So inside the curly braces, okay, we are going to remove the margin. Okay, margin. I'm going to set our margin to 0, margin to 0, margin colon, and then 0. Okay, so if you can see, it's remove all the margin. Okay, did you see what happened? I'm going to take this out and then let's see what happens. Okay, so when I paste it back, just taking the margin, sorry. Now let's do that for the padding. So I'm going to set our padding to 0. Okay, so it's taking the padding out. So now what we can do now is to work on our main. Okay, so remember here our header, I named my header main. Okay, so our header main, okay, which is this, all of this. Okay, so we are going to give it a background image, work on the text and then the button. So that said, let's see what we can do here. So I'll go to my CSS file and then, okay, my header is called main. So I'm going to type. So remember, if you want to reference your classes, okay, use the period, okay, the dot, okay, so the period, and then the name of the class, so main, okay, curly braces, and then I'm going to start with the background. So background image. So background image, we have the URL to brackets, and then since my image is in a folder, okay, I would have to type dot forward slash images. Okay, so that's the name of my images. My folder is called images, so dot forward slash images. Then the name of my, okay, so that's which is this one. Okay, so you can see what is happening. So the image is behind the text, so we need and then it looks compressed. Okay, so you want to work on the actual side, you want it to fill the entire screen. So if I enlarge my screen, you can see it's still the same. So let's work on that. So I'm going to have to type height, okay, height, and then I'm going to set it to 100 VH, 100 VH. Okay, so 100 VH is view height. Okay, so the viewport height, so 100 VH. So this is my viewport. So this particular screen, okay, all this screen is my view port height. So the viewport is like what the viewer is going to see on their device. Okay, so like the window for which the viewer is going to be seeing the web page. Okay. So you want it to fill the view height at say 100 VH, and you can see it's not well. I don't want it this way, so let's work on other properties. So we have background position. So background position, okay, and I'm going to set it to center. Okay, so you can see it has centered the image. We still don't want it this way. Okay, so let's work on this. So background size, I'm going to set it to cover. So background size, we'll set it to cover. Okay, so this is what we actually want. Okay, so this one we actually want. And then now let's work on some CSS things. Okay, so we are going to use flex. So display flex. display colon flex or terminate it. So you can see what flex does. So what flex does is going to make anything inside a container horizontal. Okay, that's it's going to help you work with either horizontal or vertical. Okay, so we have rows and then columns. Okay, so you can work either in rows or then columns. Unlike CSS grid, that you can work in both angles like at the same time. Okay, so display flex by default it will turn to a row. Okay, so you can see our make me grid come and have they're all in a row. So we have this we call flex direction to flex direction, and I'm going to use column. So column, you can see it has come back to its original. So vertical. Then we have justify content, set to center. Okay, so they've moved to the center. Okay, so move to the center, but I want it centered here. So we have another property called align items. So align items we use for center. Okay. You can see it's now centered in our the middle part of our image. Okay. Okay, so now let's work on the colors and then change the properties of these documents or text and then button. So we have our main, we have our H1, we have our subtext. So H1, we want to work on this. Okay, so this is inside our class called main. So what we'll do is I'm going to type dot main to be able to access it, and then I'll type H1. Okay, curly braces, and then the H1. What we want to do is I'm going to change the color colon. Okay, and then I'm going to give it white smoke. You can use any color of your choice. You can make it white or white smoke. Then I'll terminate it with a semicolon so you can see it's white now. And then let's work on the font. So the font size I'm going to use 60 pixels, 60 px. Okay, so let's write that font size, font hyphen size. Okay, so you can see we have it big. And then let's work on our subtext. So subtext, we gave it an ID, okay, which is this, okay, ID subtext. So I'm going to use reference it using a pound sign, and then it's called subtext. Then I'm going to give it a color of white. And then let's give it a line height. Okay, line height. Okay, line height is just going to help us give it enough spacing. Okay, so line height, I'm going to use 3 em. Okay, so you can see we have enough spacing between them. Okay, and then okay, so in our next lesson we'll work on the button. So we'll style our button. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next lesson.